Hi, it's Jen Rollich here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing an interview with one of our Built for Coaches students, Kuba. Now, Kuba has worked with us since Built to Coach was a separate thing from Built for Business. He went through the Built to Coach course with us last year and then signed up as one of our initial beta testers for Built for Business, and he is still with us to this day in the hybrid programme Built for Coaches. So I thought it would be good to have a wee bit of a chat with Kuba and give you an insight into someone who has worked with us now for over a year, an insight into their journey, their experience, and actually what's materially different about their life and their business now as a result of working with us. We are always really big on, instead of telling you why we're different, we would rather just show you and to give you it from a completely unbiased place instead of us just harping on about how great we are, helping you to actually hear it from somebody else's experience. So I really hope that you enjoy this. Kuba is an absolutely fantastic guy, an absolute grafter, and has worked super hard for the results that he's got after several bad experiences with other mentorships that really damaged his confidence and self-belief, and we've worked really hard over the last year to help build him up to a place where he feels confident and self-assured. And although we've been a part of that process, he has really put in the work to get there. So I really hope that you enjoy this chat. Stick around and see what he's got to say. We're just going to get this show straight on the road, so tell everyone who you are and a wee bit of your background.
So my name is Kuba. I've been coaching for about 4 years now. I specialize in helping guys not just get in shape, but regain their confidence that they've lost over the last few years. My background initially started by doing like a sports nutrition masters, and then I realized, okay, cool, like this is what I want to go into. And then now, as I mentioned, coached for a while and just looking to get better and take my business to where I know it can be.
Class. So similar to Christian, who we did the other case study with, Kuba actually worked with us inside of Built to Coach first, and then he joined Built for Business, which is now our hybrid programme Built for Coaches. We like to rebrand, apparently. So Kuba worked with us and joined us in the third cohort of Built to Coach, I believe. So tell me a wee bit about how you felt about your business and the program that you were running before you joined Built to Coach.
Really interesting question. I think the words that come to mind was doing it because I felt like I had to. I was feeling pretty unfulfilled in my business before I joined up to do, as you said, Built to Coach first. I think I was lacking direction in a sense of what I needed to do, because the approach that was recommended to me before didn't really sit with how I wanted my business to look. I was left pretty frustrated in like no man's land, where I was trying to make my business successful, but I felt as though the approach that I was told to implement that would make it successful is not what I wanted. And yeah, it led me to be pretty disconnected with the entire business. And as I said, doing it just because I felt like that's why I needed to move away, which was my big goal at the time.
Yeah. And then subsequently then when you made the decision to kind of come into Built for Business, how were you feeling about the way your business was running in that in-between time? So obviously you'd started Built to Coach and started to take on some of that theory around your clients, how your program ran. Then as you come into Built for Business, how did you feel about how things were going at that stage before you then joined us there?
I finally felt as though, wow, right, this is what I actually want to do. I knew before, like my product was okay, but it wasn't good enough to probably, it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. When there were a lot of situations I just didn't know how to deal with. There was a lot of confusion of not being able to help clients towards an outcome beyond just macros and a bit of training. And I felt as though, wow, the course has actually explained a lot of things to me that I weren't aware of. And for the first time, I felt as though, wow, yeah, like I'm actually feeling more fulfilled, beginning to feel more fulfilled in my business because I'm focusing on becoming a better coach rather than just focusing on things that are still important, like sales and marketing. But I felt as though I wasn't a good enough coach before to start worrying about all of that.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then tell me a wee bit more then about, you kind of alluded there to, being given guidance or advice around running your business in a way that didn't feel right for you. So what was the kind of situation in your business and with your coaching program before you joined? What were things looking like from a tangible, practical perspective?
So they were tough. They were tough. The number one thing that's probably worth pointing out here, I signed up to like another mentorship, which was a really, really difficult time for me. And I signed up to it probably not being able to afford at the time, but just because of the fact I was promised that I will increase my monthly reoccurring revenue by 200% in the initial 90 days. I was like, well, I'm going to have the money for this. Excited. Let's go. I got to do the hard things and take risk, right? But not only obviously that didn't follow through, and after 8 months I was left in pretty much very, very crippling financial situation, to the point where, to be fair, I don't tell many people this, but I actually gave up on my business. I was like, I'm in so much debt, I hate the way my business runs, and like I need to go and find a job to be able to make ends meet now, to be able to like, you know, reduce some of that debt that I've accumulated from the mentorship. um so yeah, that was a pretty tough time, and where I didn't feel as though I wanted to even do anything in terms of my business, and yeah, going back to pretty much a job that I didn't really want to do.
Hmm. Tell me, at this time, were you considering your future in the industry? Did it feel like your business had a future at that time?
No, no, I was only doing bits on the side. I was obviously working and then doing my business on the side, just because of the fact that I needed it to move away from the UK, which was my dream goal. And that's the only reason why I continued with it. And it was only to get me out where I could rethink again what I can do in the future is why I continued to coach really.
Did you ever consider leaving the industry?
Yeah, that was the goal at the end of that was the goal after I moved away and found something else. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And thinking about where your business is now, how has that feeling changed?
It's complete night and day really. Well, you probably know best. We sat on calls and I was like, well, I just, you asked me, that's actually quite funny. You asked me, how much of your business do you enjoy? I was like, oh, I don't know, like 20% of it. You were like, what? 20%? I was like, yeah, about that. It's like, how are you supposed to run a long term if you enjoy 20% of your week? And then that related to all the illnesses that I had every 8 to 10 weeks, burning out and being stuck in that constant cycle of a reactive business approach all the time. But now I feel as though not only am I enjoying most of the days that I go into across the week, and I'm actually waking up looking forward to it, but I feel as though my future in the next 5 years, the task to be done, is actually focused on greater things with my business, not moving away from the industry that I was planning before joining,
Yeah.
obviously, built coach and built for coaches.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that a lot of people can relate to. I know there'll be a lot of people watching this who've been in that position where you don't always stop to ask yourself that question of how much of this am I actually enjoying, and it can almost become a bit normalized that like business is hard and this should feel tough, and absolutely like that's a huge part of it, but you got into this for the love and joy and fulfillment of what you do, and I think if it's going to have any longevity, can you imagine only spending 20% of your time in work fulfilled? Like we spend far too much time doing this to only have 1/5 of the time actually fulfilling us. I'll ask you at the end what percentage you would put on now. Talk me through a wee bit of the material situation then of the position of your business at that time before you started working with us. What did it look like?
Um, I believe into when I initially joined up from material as in like clients and everything like numbers behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
yeah.
Because I think I had about 15 clients at the time when I joined, but I was moving when I was joining from partly in person and then doing online at the same time. And then obviously I lost the in-person people because I was moving away. So I was probably around sort of 12 client mark when started. Um, from a financial point of view, I was probably earning on average about 1,600 per month when moving away. Um, and yeah, again, that's including some of the in-person people I had.
Yep, yep. And in terms of kind of your churn and retention at that time, don't think you were really tracking numbers around that time. Was there a bit of avoidance potentially in there, a reluctance to actually see the reality of what that was?
Yes, that's a really, really well structured. I didn't measure churn because I didn't want to measure churn.
Hmm.
My emotional tie with my business at that time was just not very good, and
Yep.
any sort of failure felt like an attack on myself personally. So churn is not something I measured. Until you said that, I probably didn't realize why. But retention I did measure, funnily enough. And at that time, I believe it was around 6 months with the in-person people as well, the people who are staying for.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Class. So tell me then, what made you decide to actually then commit firstly to Built to Coach and then into Built for Business?
Yeah, built a coach. It was exactly why I wanted. It was exactly why I wanted for my business. I wanted to have a product that was a lot more comprehensive, a lot more holistic, because that's why I noticed the gaps were when it came to getting clients better results and more long-term results. So that's why I initially joined up. And what was the second question, sorry?
And then Built for Business, what kind of helped you to finally decide like I'm going to commit to this?
I wanted it wasn't so much of the marketing stuff just because I was doing business. I was doing build to coach at the time and I wanted to focus on that. It was more about my personal standards. I knew that I was my own bottleneck in my business. My thinking, the way I worked, the way I behaved, the way I reacted to things. I knew all of these things were the problem. And I just didn't know how to fix it. You hear everyone saying you can't be reactive in business. You hear everyone speak about you need to turn up with unstoppable energy. Brilliant, but no one actually has ever given me a definition of how to do it.
Mm,
Um, and I feel as though methods I've tried in the past never really worked. So this is what I wanted to help with and to begin to become the person I know I can be, not just for my business, but also outside of that.
yeah, absolutely. And again, this is something that we talk about quite a lot. And again, that I know that a lot of people will be able to resonate with is that pressure of everybody telling you what you need to do, like what you should feel like. And it's like, but nobody ever tells you how you actually do it. So you're then left with the pressure, of like, okay, this is important and that's important and that's important. So I have these 15 priorities and then I have no idea where to start. You're left then stuck with that like mental fog. And I think as well, one of the big things that kind of stood out to me for you when you first started working with us is the beliefs that you had around the way that you should be doing things. Tell me a wee bit more about how that was showing up for you, those staying so really stuck with those. I remember you calling them standards. And I said, these don't sound like standards to me. These sound like hard and fast rules. Tell me a wee bit more about what those used to be like versus what they are now.
Yeah, I think I was just obsessed with with trying to find certainty and things that were successful on paper from different people. But it just, yeah, it just wasn't working because the methods that I was trying to find were just, yeah, but for some reason just didn't sit well with me. And from like, well, you called it, yeah, I called the standard like things needed to be done in a perfect way. Otherwise they shouldn't be done. It just left me like really mentally burnt out and probably contributed to a lot of the health repercussions that I've spoken to you about in the sense of reduced immunity, and yeah, just not having energy for day-to-day things.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me then a wee bit about the kind of progress that you've made then since you started working with us, like a year ago now, really for when you first kind of started working with us inside About to Coach. From when you started working with us up until now, talk me through the progress that you've made.
Absolutely. So I think it all comes back to number one, myself. Immunity is one of the first things that I asked Mark to work on because every 8 to 10 weeks, as I mentioned, I was getting ill. I've only had one illness all year, and it's September. And that wasn't like a general cold, that was something I caught externally. So I pretty much got a lot of my life back by not laying in bed and dying. I make decisions from finally, slowly, but from a place that I always heard you should make decisions from vision, from a place of a person that I want to be, rather than this reactive mindset of doing things to get out of pain all the time. Um, I've actually got focus and clarity on the next 5 years and confidence in the program that I know will take me exactly to where I need to be. But on the other hand, I need to take responsibility and still follow through on what I need to do. So I think it's that clarity and belief that I finally am working on my dream business that I've defined, not someone else has defined of how it should look. And yeah, just overall in a much, much happier place mentally with challenges that pop up. I can respond to them in a positive way with a growth mindset rather than be stuck in the same thinking patterns for weeks on end that would completely drain me and probably put me into that sort of ill state that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, from a business perspective, my retention's gone up by 2.77 months on average since joining Build to Coach. Um, Thanks to the increase in the monthly recurring revenue, I've managed to put down a big chunk of money for a house that I never even dreamed of in the place that that I always dreamed of as well whilst living back in the UK. Yeah, and I think just overall, just turning up to work on most days feeling like, oh, like, I'm excited. I'm going to enjoy this day, not feel as though I'm turning up to have to just turn up because I have to and just to get me by. I think there's just a complete switch in my fulfillment in business.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, like I'm so grateful to be on board.
Yeah, class. And tell me how it feels now in terms of your like the way that you show up as a coach, the way that you're interacting with your clients, the way that you're running your business. How do you feel inside of it each day?
I think relieved from all the stress and anxiety and pressure from how I run my business before. Um, yeah, I think relief is the main one just because of how I felt before, but I think fulfilled as well in the sense of I'm doing things my way that I know over time will get me to where I want to be. That's, I think, a big one. And just overall, just happy and cheerful every day, walking around, like having a joke and stuff, not just being laying there in bed, dying and not wanting to go to bed. I think it's just a big switch in general. But I think just that certainty in the future is a big one for me as well that I've mentioned.
Class. What are you excited about for about the future?
I think it's just actually starting to live up to my own potential. I think that's the biggest thing. I spoke to Mark about this not so long ago. I had so many limiting beliefs. I still do at the moment, I'm not gonna lie, that I need to work on. But I feel as though for the first time, I'm empowered to actually to know, well, it's just a case of working on them, and there's that belief that I can do anything I want. So I think just excitement for the future, in terms of what's to come is one thing that stands out.
Yep. Amazing. Mate, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about your experience. You've been in an incredible journey, and I think speaking to you now versus the person that I spoke to not even a year ago, right? Like maybe like 9 months ago, it is like genuine night and day. And make no mistake, Kuba has worked extremely hard to get here. This isn't a case of he's kind of showed up here and there. He has been fully committed to absolutely everything to do with the process to get this result. So it is very, very well deserved. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
So I really hope that you enjoyed that, and I really hope that you've taken something away from hearing Kuba's journey. I think it's a really, really relatable one for so many people who've been in and around different places and spaces in the industry, seeking the help that they need to be able to grow their business, but also grow themselves. And that's the thing that I think is so powerful about Kuba's story, is the journey of self-development that he's been on through this, and why we are so big in putting the person at the centre of everything. So I really hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments anything particular that stood out to you, anything that Kuba said that you would like to know a wee bit more about. I'd be more than happy to chat. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, it's linked below. If there's anything in particular that you want more insight on into how we helped Kuba with any of the specific outcomes that he's managed to achieve. And as always, if you would like more information on Built for Coaches and what we do, then shoot me a DM. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.